believe they've hit $600 billion in sales in 2022. US is slowly trailing behind. I think we were at like 37 billion in 2021, poised to be $80 billion by 2025, so not too far away. And so the question really is, where is this going? How do we really leverage this? And so we have this panel that we're gonna really help us walk through how to make sense of how to leverage social live shopping. So with Nicole, we'd love to, with the panelists, please share what you're currently working on and what's your point of view in terms of where social live shopping is here today in the US market.
Thank you. I spent time in China in 2018 and firsthand saw some really incredible shopping behavior by consumers there that opened my crown chakra in a major way, and all I could think was that the American consumer was being deprived of this incredible shopping experience. There are differences in China in that China is very much a mobile-first country. So the young people there were not on desktops in 1998. They really discovered the internet on their mobile phones, and the way that they consume entertainment and the type of entertainment that they enjoy is different. So certainly what we're going to see happen, like what we've already been seeing happen in the United States, is different because it's a different consumer, right? But ultimately what I think it boils down to in the United States is entertainment. So multiple things. Number one, the white space, in my opinion, in the beauty industry in the United States is definitely in the shopping experience. When you look at any e-commerce site today, it's basically the same as what it looked like 15 years ago. And consumers today are vastly different than they were 15 years ago. What drives their purchasing decisions is very, very different. It's TikTok, basically. So you've got to be able to, first and foremost, change your e-commerce experience so that, as the gentlemen were talking earlier this morning about Neutrogena, speak with your consumer, not at them, get involved with them, show them things that they want to look at, capture their attention, etc. So if everybody is not planning to update their websites by the end of this year, please put that on your to-do list. And focus ultimately on education. What I'm working on, so since 2018, well, I'd say even earlier than that, I was on the founding team of a company called Ipsy, which in many ways was the earliest iteration of social commerce in the United States. It was really influencers talking to consumers in a very direct way about what they loved. In China, I saw a great deal in 2018, and I've been consulting since with some very cool companies, Super Great, Talk Shop Live, etc. And now Creatable, which I'm very excited about, which has beautiful, amazing plugins that you can put on your website and track which pieces of content are driving dollar sales for you, so that can help inform your decisions going forward on influencer marketing strategy.
Yeah, I really agree, Nicole, with what you said, and specifically that we have to look at the way that consumers actually purchase now. So we've done just a lot of customer research, and typically what we see is that customers will find a brand on TikTok, Instagram, they find an influencer talking about it, and so there really is this power of video that we're starting to see through the social selling, essentially. And so what we're working on is essentially bringing a lot of that user-generated content onto a brand's website. And so what we do see with that is that usually when the user actually finds you, they have a little bit of education, they go to the static webpage, just like Nicole said, and they're not entertained. They go from entertainment mode to, okay, you need to buy this. Oftentimes they're not ready. And so basically it's like, how do you actually create that authenticity, and how do you bring a lot of that social content onto your website? One other big theory that we have is that previously when we think about influencers, a lot of them were actually macro influencers. So we're thinking about the Michaelas, the Kim Kardashians. We're actually seeing a bunch of a shift. I don't know if you guys saw the recent TikTok with Michaela where she was doing a L'Oreal mascara, and she actually, everybody saw it. She put on a fake lash, and everybody was like, oh my God, she's being canceled. And so I think what is going on is that YouTube, we had celebrities, and then people got you know, they weren't about that anymore. Then they went to macro influencers on YouTube, and now we're on now we're on Instagram, and then now we're on TikTok, and you see these macro influencers. But what actually drives conversion at the end of the day for a lot of consumers is actually seeing somebody like you, seeing you have black hair, you have brown hair, you have blue eyes, you have, you know, certain skin tone, a certain ethnicity, and so bringing a lot of that content that your users are really resonating with on, you know, your website, we've really seen that to be really successful.
For sure. So I work at Byway, which is a live stream shopping channel. We have like an omni-channel link. So rather than having to have the live stream sessions living inside TikTok or Instagram, it lives directly on the brand's social commerce, on the website, which means you're able to leverage the brand's website. So something that you've spent lots of time and money making exactly how you want it to look, you're then able to add this entertainment layer. And I have to say that Evan and Roberto's really interesting panel earlier completely primed us for everything we're about to say, so thank you, boys. We're really finding at Byway that adding that entertainment layer and the value add is what drives the engagement and sales. So that might look like having, to your point, an influencer who maybe isn't a macro influencer, but is an expert in their space, which translates really, really well to beauty. So rather than going and having a live stream where they're showing you their favorite products, instead they're going to be showing you how to do the perfect smoky eye. So they're really giving this value add to Gen Z, a generation that from the moment they took their first breath has been overwhelmed with digital ads. And we're really seeing that lean away from influencing and into de-influencing. And social commerce allows you to do that. It allows you to have this ongoing conversation with your community, with your consumers. And ultimately, if you're not there and you're not doing it, your competitors are going to be.
Great. And you know, for us as an investor, you know, we're obviously looking at how the companies are spending their dollars in customer acquisition. So CAC cost has increasingly been going up, obviously with iOS changes, and then now we're hearing that Google, you know, the cookie, they're going to get rid of that in the next year or so. And so with all that means that it's going to become harder and harder for brands to, you know, find customers and convert them to become your buyers. And so when we hear these high conversion rates with the social live shopping, when we were doing prep session, we talked about how one of the brands who worked with them, you know, increased their the AOV by 72%, and the conversion rate was 8 times higher. So when I hear these things, like, why aren't all brands, especially even when I asked you, like, how many of you are actually using social live shopping for your business? I think we saw only maybe like less than 5 of you raise your hand. And so the question is, what is it? What is the hurdle? Why are you not already, you know, jumping on the bandwagon and understanding and leveraging this tool that's out there? So I'd like to ask the panelists, what do you think the hurdles are? And then also, you know, is there a perfect time for, especially the small to medium brands to start? And if they do, what are some of the key, like top 3 things that they need to do, they must do to set up for success? I combined all these 3 questions if you want, because over time, it's straight. So.
I'll see if I can keep that all straight. I mean, I think the hurdle for any small or medium-sized brand is resources, right? Time, energy, effort, etc. And so what can you, and also there's a plethora of choices right now, and so which is the right choice for you? But first and foremost, how do we address that? Step 1, and we also heard about this earlier today, is that you have to have a story and a point of differentiation and a real story to tell. If you're going to be talking about live selling specifically, right? Because if you're going to go live, nobody wants to watch you sit behind a white wall talking about your quote-unquote, you know, points of differentiation. That's like watching paint dry. No one is tuning into that. It's not happening at all. So if you're going to get involved in live content, number 1, first of all, it's not live selling. You should think of it entirely as entertainment. If I am entertained, you hold my attention. If you're holding my attention and you're telling me a great story, it's very likely that I'm going to click add to cart. So number 1, is this entertaining? And maybe that's a brand founder who is oftentimes incredibly compelling because their passion comes through and why they created a brand. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a spokesperson or an influencer that you're working with or somebody else. Somebody who's been making amazing content on TikTok for you that you reach out to. So think ultimately about entertainment. and having a point of view. If you're going to get very regular with your live content, there has to be another reason. If you are a skincare brand, do you have an amazing esthetician who's willing to go live with clients and talk about this client has very dehydrated skin, so this is what we're doing for this person versus this person who's acneic, etc. There's something interesting and compelling and entertaining about all of it. The choices maybe are overwhelming. Which plugins do I use? What platforms do I use? How do I go about it? All of those things. I fundamentally believe, well, I love to joke that 10 years ago we called social media new media. That just really tickles me. It wasn't that long ago, but in many ways it feels like 1,000 years ago. I think that we're now using the term social commerce, and I think in a year or two from now that will not be a thing. We'll just be saying commerce, because if you do not update your websites in the next couple of years to pull in content that is compelling, I don't know that you'll be selling very much on your websites at all.
Yeah, great points, Nicole and Missy. So I would really start from, what is the story that you want to tell to your consumers, and what's the emotions that you want to invoke? So maybe I can give a case study example. So we're working with Credo Beauty. We help them on one of their foundation pages. They're a clean beauty, 43 shades, like beautiful formula. And so for them, it really was about showcasing, different type of ethnicities, different type of skin types, and really showing that visual side, and to tell a story that, hey, we're open to you. We invite you, and you are accepted here. And so they were really able to tell that narrative. They did, we did a lot of store events on their website, social media ads everywhere that drove just, higher, ad spend and, really strong conversion and sales results. And it was because they were able to tell that story. Now, that's also applicable to other brands. A lot of brands ask me, I talk to brands every single day, and they go, well, when's the right time? Like, how much should I invest? I always say it's good to just dip your toes, right? You can work with a lot of third parties, whether that's Hue or others. There's like Octoly, who does user-generated content, Gander. There's a ton out there to essentially help you source and implement that content. And I think there's two good scenarios to do it. One is actually for product launch. So let's say you have a lip coming out, you have a skincare, and you really want to make a huge bang. You have a limited number of product launches, especially for hero launch. Get those micro-influencers out there, get that content on your website. That's a good time. The second, where we've seen it, is actually another launch, right? Because we know that sales are always the strongest, pretty much like the first 3 to 4 weeks when you launch a product. And then, unless you keep marketing it, sometimes it kind of dies down. So you can reuse content to tell a new story, right? Maybe you told a different story at launch. Hey, we have this new lip product, we have this new skincare product, but maybe it's a different type of story, with that. And you can use that content, whether that's user-generated, whether that's, through live streaming, to really create, a new story and new content about that.
Great points. I wanted to kind of answer the more timing piece that Claire mentioned. So like a couple of years ago, all of my friends who work in marketing or brands would be saying, do you think we need to get on TikTok? And it's like, yeah, babe, you need to get on TikTok. And it's the same thing. Ultimately, if you're not going to be communicating with your audience in this space, your competitors will be. To your point about the kind of hurdles that brands might feel, there's obviously a lot of overwhelm. It's a new technology. I would just say keep it simple. Don't be asking people to download apps. That's not going to happen. You want it to live on top of your e-com site so that people are automatically, that purchase and decision is much faster. They can click it, it can go straight into the bag, and then we're finding that's what's driving the really high revenue on our sessions at Private.
Great. If we haven't convinced you by now, according to McKinsey, those U.S. consumers who have shopped, or bought products and services through live shopping are 75% more like 75% of them said that they will go back and purchase products through live and social shopping, and so. Obviously, as investors, we're very bullish in this category. What do you see? What can we expect in the next 3 to 5 years as it relates to social live shopping in the U.S.?
I hate the crystal ball questions because inevitably you're going to be wrong, right? I'll be back in 3 years and it's like, yeah, you blew it. But I can definitely say what's already happening now is that the vast majority of consumers, especially young consumers, are consuming short-form content on TikTok. The very first place that they're going to look for purchase is Amazon, above Google these days. If you are able to capture them on your website, you're probably able to do that better now than you were pre-COVID, which is spectacular. You're losing them because they're going to static 2D images on a website that could have been made 15 years ago again. So I really think that what's going to happen in 3 years, I don't know, but what should be happening now, this year, and next year, no doubt, is engaging your users from the original content that they're looking at, which is social first, and then how do you pull that type of content onto your site, first and foremost. As you said, it should live on your site first and foremost, and then if you have the opportunity to partner elsewhere, I think the retailers really need to update their sites immediately, yesterday, then start doing that, but first and foremost on site.
Yeah, I think those are great points, Nicole. Just to add to that, I have a little bit of a hot take, which is that everyone, to some extent, will be able to create content. I think the barriers have already decreased a lot, like with TikTok. Now, some, girl in college, Alex Earl, in her room, just creating content, getting ready with me. So I actually think that the barriers for brands to even get that type of content and to use that content will actually decrease. So I think that will be interesting. And also, it almost, I always like to say the best e-commerce and the best digital experiences are actually the ones that happen in real life. So actually, I was talking to a friend about this where, back in the day, you would be with your girlfriend and you'd be trying on this and you'd say, hey, this looks so great. So that is almost like a way of shifting it into the online. And so for me, the question that we are grappling is how can we make content creation easier for anyone to do, right? Previously, ratings and reviews actually very taboo, early 2000s, and brands were actually really nervous about bringing negative reviews, and so, but they were able to almost like take out the barrier to create that. And so for us, we're constantly thinking, is there perhaps like AI or some type of technology that can help, actual everyday users to, show their brands, show their love, show a video of like, hey, this really worked for me. I've seen this at a small scale with a lot of brands. And so that's just like something that we're thinking. But I think that content will be increasingly easier to create in the future, and everybody will be some type of content creator. And Gen Z is already on that, but maybe the older demo too, like millennials.
I don't have too much to add to those very good points, and I'm very conscious of the little gong. But what I believe and what we talk about at Byword is the future of e-commerce is interactive, and Gen Z expect that. They want to be able to have conversations, recommendations, and to interact when they're purchasing, and social commerce is the perfect way to get into that.
If I can add, I think TikTok was mentioned, I don't even know how many times, but it sounds like I think, TikTok is obviously a must. And I think we talked about even the fact that, it's not going to come in one, it's not going to be a one thing that's going to take all, right? It's going to take in various forms. So depending on, what category you're in, are you in a luxury category or